Welcome to River Cruises 101, hosted by Booked Travel Planners. If you're curious about river cruising and not sure where to start, this presentation is for you. This presentation was initially held as a live virtual event, but we're doing a secondary recording that we're posting on YouTube. So we're so glad that you found us. Everything in this presentation is current as of July 2025. If you're watching this after and you have questions or want to chat, our website is listed here. In this presentation, we'll go through an overview of river cruising versus ocean cruising. We'll talk a little bit about the onboard experience of a river cruise. We'll talk about some sample itineraries and then wrap up with some tips for booking your own river cruise. This presentation is hosted by Amber Miller of Booked Travel Planners. I specialize in European travel, honeymoons, and high-end luxury like private planes and yacht charters. So because I specialize a lot in Europe travel, river cruising fits in perfectly. You can follow our company on the social media platform of your choice at Book Travel Planners, or if you want to work with us or learn more about us, bookedtravelplanners.com will be the hub to get started for that. River cruising is becoming a very popular way of travel, especially as the next generation of travelers begins to retire and has extra income to spend and is looking for new and different experiences that they haven't had before. River cruises tend to be more intimate than ocean cruises because you have about 150 to 200 people on board the average river cruise versus sometimes 2,000 or more on an ocean cruise. Because of the size and shape of river cruises, river cruise boats and how they're designed, river cruises are able to get you into more unique locations and more directly into the city center or a more centralized location than an ocean cruise. So if you've ever done a large ocean cruise to, let's say, Rome, you know that you typically dock in Civitavecchia, which is about 90 minutes from the city center of Rome. On a river cruise, because you are sailing on a river and not a large ocean, the docks for river cruises are right in the heart of the city, so it saves you time on those transfers. And river cruises are a great way to explore new places for experienced travelers. If you've done a lot of the typical European travel destinations, river cruises give you a lot more unique city offerings, places you might not have traveled before, like Slovenia, Cologne, Germany, and lots of other cities depending on which itinerary you go to. And we'll talk about some of those itineraries later in this presentation. River cruises don't just go to Europe, though. While that is more popular, there are also river cruises available in Asia and Africa and even Colombia. So we'll talk about that a little later. Now, when we are referring to ocean cruises, we're talking about what you know as those large commercial cruise lines like Carnival, Norwegian, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, and so forth. Those are typically large ships, sometimes with 19 or 20 different levels on them. And as I said earlier, sometimes 2,500 passengers on board. So there are lots of differences between river cruises and ocean cruises. River cruises give you that more intimate experience because more often than not, you have less than 200 passengers on board, and the crew is going to take their time to get to know you. Typically, on a river cruise, you have a cruise manager or director who's that central point of contact for all of the passenger-facing activities on board, and by the end of your time on their ship, they want to get to know you. I also see that sometimes these cruise managers become so popular with their guests that some river cruise lines actually promote sailing specifically based on those cruise managers because people want to come back and sail with them again. As we talked about on the prior slide, river cruises tend to dock directly in the city center, which means you don't have those long transfer times from the cruise ship back to the activity they're going to, or vice versa. River cruises tend to have more inclusive value. Now, we're just talking generally in this presentation, so each river cruise line is going to be different. However, most of them do include excursions in your cruise fare, Wi-Fi, beverages with meals, including beer and wine, and ocean cruises, some of them are a la carte models, which means you have to pay extra for specialty dining, meals, Wi-Fi, fitness classes, and so forth. And with river cruises, they are constantly sailing through the river. So you're going through more intimate destinations, more picturesque landscapes, unlike unlike ocean cruises, where you're just seeing water for days on end in most cases, sometimes a big ocean cruise out there that you might wave to along the way. But with river cruises, you are sailing through landscapes, small cities, and villages. So, for example, when I was on an Ama Waterways river cruise last year, I was walking the walking track at the top of the river cruise boat, and I could see different farms and windmills and people out in the distance as we sailed by. So, there's always something to look at. Now, who is the perfect client for a river cruise? Well, there are lots of river cruise options and lots of different interests and individuals that like river cruising. So, obviously, older couples that are getting into that retirement age that have more time to take these longer journeys that over to Europe, Asia, Africa, or Colombia. But also solo travelers. River cruises are catering more towards solo travelers. So if you don't want to wait on somebody to travel with you or you want to go on this adventure by yourself, river cruises give you a great way to meet other travelers while you are on the ship. You have dinner together. They have sometimes reduced solo supplements or no solo supplements. And sometimes theme cruises where you'll meet other solo travelers that have an interest in that specific topic. River cruises are also perfect for groups and celebrations. So if you have a special interest group, maybe bird watching or book club or history or photography, things like that, we would love to chat with you about organizing a group trip for your special interest group. River cruises are also great for just groups of friends and family that want to travel together, reunions, special occasions like birthdays or retirement. If you do travel with a large enough group on a river cruise, sometimes you get special group amenities and perks. You could also get things like private excursions, and it's super easy to coordinate because river cruise lines and travel agencies like myself make it super easy for groups to work together and get great deals. And it's a common misconception that river cruises are only for older clientele. However, there are lots of multi-generational families taking river cruises together because you can have a wide range of activity levels on a river cruise. But there's also some river cruises that are geared towards families. So, for example, Adventures by Disney host river cruise sailing specifically for families. So, whoever you are and whatever your interest is in a river cruise, we'd love to chat with you and help you learn more. On these next few slides, you'll see some actual photos that I took on my recent river cruise on Ama Waterways. So, river cruise cabins, similar to ocean cruises, have a variety of different room types. There are interior cabins, there are some with a porthole window, there's some with balconies or French balconies where you have the two doors. And then there are also larger suites with sitting areas. Some have butler service, some have panoramic views. They are pretty spacious. This was a balcony cabin, as you can see here on the Ama Prima ship. So whatever budget you are working with or room style, there is something for everybody. And then meals and dining are typically handled a little different on a river cruise than they are on an ocean cruise. So typically on a river cruise, your meal is going to be based on the location where you are traveling. So they tend to have regional menus and regional ingredients, sometimes even regional chefs come in and make dishes for you. River cruise meals are included in your cruise fare, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's sometimes room service options or sometimes a small buffet area where you can grab food throughout the day. However, everyone does typically have the same mealtime on board, so you do eat with other guests or your group party. And typically, beer and wine are included in your lunch and dinner meals. And there are bars on board where, if you wanted liquor or wanted alcoholic beverages outside of those meal times, where you could get them. And there's so much to do on board a river cruise. So, even though we're sailing at a much smaller scale than a large ocean cruise line, there is still a lot to do. So, for example, some of these newer river cruise ships are being built with pickleball courts on board. A lot of them do have those walking tracks, as I mentioned, on the top deck. They have gyms. You can see a picture here of the gym on the Ama Prima. They also have spa services and beauty treatments. And some cruises do have daily wellness activities or group fitness classes or personal training sessions where you can do things like yoga, stretching, HIIT classes while you're enjoying the scenery as you're sailing from one town to the next. A really popular itinerary for river cruises are Christmas market cruises. So these start typically November and December. And these are through historic European towns, beautiful, decked out in holiday lights, little villages and cities. And these are extremely popular sailing. So if you are unfamiliar with river cruises, you may have seen or heard of one of these Christmas market cruises. These do book up years in advance, so highly encourage you to reach out early to book your Christmas market cruise if that's something you're interested in. But the nice thing about these is you get to visit multiple Christmas markets in multiple different countries or cities on one cruise. So you unpack once and you get to enjoy lots of different destinations. And then when your ship is docked in those historic towns and villages, you get to enjoy the holiday Christmas markets with the lights, the foods, the gifts, the ornaments, the people, the music, all of those really fun things. And in addition, the ships also get really dressed up for the holidays as well. Now, we won't go through every possible itinerary during this presentation. We're happy to chat with you one-on-one to help you find your perfect itinerary, but we have some of the more popular ones listed here on the screen. As I mentioned, river cruises are traditionally based in Europe and go to lots of different areas in Europe. For example, there are France itineraries, there are Rhine River itineraries or Danube itineraries. Portugal is a really new and popular itinerary. But you can also do a river cruise in Africa. They have safari river cruises. You can do them in Asia and visit Vietnam and Cambodia, for example. And they are also now doing river cruises in Colombia. So lots of amazing itinerary options, and we'd love to help you find your perfect itinerary. There are also many different river cruise lines out there. So, similar to how you know the big ocean cruise lines like Carnival, Norwegian, Royal, Celebrity, and so forth, there are many river cruise options as well. Those range from luxury lines to more budget friendly contemporary lines, more multi generational. Some are adults only. So, when we chat with you about your river cruise, we'll help you find the perfect line for you based on your budget and personal preferences. And when you're ready to book a river cruise, we highly encourage you booking in advance. We do encourage you to book 12 to 18 months ahead on a really popular river cruise itinerary, like a Christmas market or holiday market cruise. That often gives you the best pricing. Sometimes you get early bird discounts, and of course, you get the best cabin selection. So, especially on those holiday sailings, you want to make sure you're booking early. You also want to look at what's included with your river cruise fare. While the price point may be higher than what you're used to seeing for a typical ocean cruise, keep in mind that things like your excursions are included, your drinks at mealtime, your meals, your gratuities, and sometimes your transfers are also included. Some river cruise lines also run promotions where they include airfare in their deals. And so, when you're ready to book a river cruise, we would love to help you. Travel advisors such as ourselves at Book Travel Planners often have access to exclusive promotions, upgrades, and onboard credits that aren't available to the general public. We also work with business development managers at the cruise lines and group departments at those cruise lines. So, if you do have a group that you want to sail with, again, for maybe a milestone birthday, a retirement, a family trip, a special interest group, we can help you organize that trip. So when you're ready to set sail, please reach out to us. You can email us at hello@bookedbyam.com or follow us on social at Booked Travel Planners. Thank you so much for watching our presentation, and we hope to work with you on your perfect river cruise.